British food is bland, beige and barbaric, or so foreigners say, but is this true? And if not, where did Britain's terrible food reputation come from? Well, first you have to start with our geography. Our wet temperate climate is great for root veg and livestock, hence our fantastic meat and dairy. It's less good for sun-loving tomatoes, peppers, olives and so on. Plus, our location on the western corner of Europe historically restricted our access to herbs and spices from the east, so our food was always going to be hearty and simple. Then there's our history. In medieval times, English peasants ate relatively well, and the nobility had a varied cuisine infused with spices brought back from the Crusades. But the English palate changed with the Reformation in the 1500s, when the country turned Protestant and adopted the Protestant suspicion of pleasure, extravagance and self-expression. Spending time and money preparing elaborate meals was a definite no-no. The next historical shift were the enclosures, which essentially privatised huge amounts of common land. This limited the peasants' ability to produce their own food, so folk recipes and skills weren't passed down. Now, as English peasant cooking declined, elite cooking was under attack from a familiar foe, the French. The Sun King Louis XIV made France the centre of European power and sophistication, and so through the 17 and 1800s, the British nobility fawned over French cuisine, relegating our traditional grub, which was dealt another huge blow by the Industrial Revolution, which took place earliest and fastest in Britain. The vast migration of workers from the countryside to cramped cities cut them off from regional cooking traditions. They no longer had the time nor the ingredients, creating an industrial food culture based on saving time and filling you up, rather than delighting the taste buds. By the early 1900s, the last bastions of sophisticated British food were the country houses, where skilled traditional cooks were still widely employed. But the two world wars and heavy taxes destroyed their wealth and ability to employ household cooks. Britain's food heritage disintegrated and was ground into the dirt by years of rationing, which lasted longer than almost anywhere in Europe, meaning an entire generation was raised without the skills or ingredients needed for a strong food culture. But when all seemed lost, things finally took a turn for the better. Post-war, the new affordability of flying abroad and celebrity chefs led by Elizabeth David opened Brits' eyes to the glories of Mediterranean food, which became high status, while huge waves of immigration led to the likes of curry and Chinese becoming cheap British staples. Then from the 80s and 90s, chefs including Fergus Henderson led the modern British movement, which began reviving traditional British fare, while pubs began selling decent grub, and the street food scene has exploded recently. In fact, there's been such a renaissance that in 2024, London had more 3 Michelin star restaurants than any city apart from Tokyo and Paris. While there are 193 Michelin star restaurants in the UK, only 87 fewer than the entire US. Today, Britain still lacks the broad base of culinary skill you get in France, Italy and Spain, where simple, cheap cafes serve outrageously good food. But the claim that it's a food wasteland, frankly, is a load of bollocks.